Malphite, Trundle, all are still available and all could be really valuable here.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like you're baiting the Malphite here. With the Jarvan ban, that seems like something that LNG should easily be able to snap up or almost force OMG to take a Rise first pick.
Yeah, BuLLDog looked good on it in game number 1, or the first game he played of it this split, so certainly not against the idea. We've seen the power of Rise be able to enable a lot of these playmakers to move around the map more efficiently. I imagine that might be the option here for both Croco and Missing. We talked about those hyper carries for Starry. Yunara might be the most consistent hyper carry in the game right now. Not his most played, but often because he's playing into it, so the Yunara is going to be the selection. They are really trying to capitalize on the fact that Starry was their bright spot in game number 1, and it's going to be the Anivia locked in here for Haichao, something we saw banned consistently in our first series of the day.
I'm happy that we see the Anivia out of Haichao. It is a nice answer in terms of champions that can just wave clear, and also actually slots into one of the reasons that I liked the Orianna idea for Haichao, something that can help your backline stay alive as well. Now Haichao can actually help peel for Starry if Croco decides to get aggressive, and we're not going to see what Croco wants to do in this game, at least not yet, as Ezreal Karma gets locked in, deferring Croco's pick to the second half.
Love this for LNG. You know, we talked a lot about 1xN and Missing having great chemistry together. 1xN was a huge Ezreal player early on in his career on Thunder Talk. He's obviously not had as many opportunities to play it across this year, but a 2v2 dominant lane that wants to come out and punish this Yunara as quickly as possible, that is the plan. That is the idea. LNG do not want any sort of repeat of what happened in game number 1, and with the Rise to be able to kind of smooth that transition out, perhaps a jungler that can be a little bit more late game focused or mid game focused, you have some really nice options, but the Lulu there to enable the hypercarry Yunara.
Surely we are banning Malphite. with Yunara and Anivia both up, surely we are, thank you, banning Malphite.
Yeah, Trundle is technically still on the board. I know some people have really said, hey, you can take it. If we get the Trundle, we're not worried about it at all. I'm not a part of that camp. I certainly would not like the easy initiation from the Malphite here, but it's going to be the engaged junglers coming off the board. Malphite, Vi, you know, we talked about things like Trundle, Pantheon are definitely ban options here. I would be surprised if this goes other directions than jungle bans.
This exchange, though, I think is favoring LNG in the long run. They are the longer range composition. They have a whole lot of peel and ability to get away with things like the Ezreal Karma. The more engaged you can deny OMG, I mean, it's not like Anivia is going to win the poke battle.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to make sure that you have opportunities to kind of play the game, and that was something that was so tough for them, was walking into the enemy team to actually use the gold that they were able to generate. And of course, without that ease of engage with something like a Lulu support, you definitely need to make sure you lock that down. I like the Renekton ban a lot, because Renekton can be a huge problem on the top side right now. He's kind of had a lot of his power shifted. He is really strong in the mid to late game, a lot stronger than people give him credit for, but it will be the Nocturne, another, I guess, pseudo-engaged type of jungler here. Juhan has some aggressive options up his pool, but a lot of them have been taken away. It's really just the Pantheon left, and the onus is being thrown down. This is a huge game now for Juhan.
That's a denial for Croco as well. I think Croco actually really would not have minded picking up Pantheon for some early strength this game. Zed's a possibility, but we got to keep in mind that top is going to be counterpicked no matter what happens here. This is the reason why OMG would have opted for second selection, is so that they get last selection and the ability to shut down a lane. Like we said, Hery went really well for them in game number 1. With a Gnar locked in, that is going to be the pick that has to be counterpicked, because if we don't see a counterpick here, it's a waste of second pick.
But that's the problem, is Gnar is a pretty decently, you know, stable champion on the top side. This is going to be one of the better blinds in the meta at the current moment. A lot of the things that you would want to pick into it are not available at the current moment. So I am definitely interested to see what Hery is going to play if he wants to play aggressive. Will be the Trundle lock-in for Croco. Still a decent answer to the things that have been generated. Obviously known as a tank buster, but this champion in general has been very valuable across this split in a lot of different circumstances. Croco is very adept at the champion. Pairs up really nicely with Rise and the Karma, because you get the speed ups just all over the place and the movement speed gets out of control. But that counter pick is used. It's the Yorick going in onto the top side, and you know, I think OMG have definitely put themselves in a position where execution is at an all-time high here in game number 2.
So how do you want this? How do you want this composition to execute? Because Yorick into Gnar, I don't think is a bad use of counterpick here, but now that we look at OMG as a whole composition and not just as this is one counterpick into this thing, how does OMG succeed into LNG?
Their most important player is who we called out a little bit earlier. It's once again going to be Juhan on this Pantheon. He is the proactivity. He is the global that can open up the map, match the Rise's priority, and make sure this 2v2 doesn't get out of control. So much of how this team is going to scale into the late game is dependent on what this Pantheon chooses to do with his resources. If he is able to out-tempo Croco, not something we've seen very commonly, then things can get pretty good for this OMG comp with the amount of late game that they have, but he has to step up and he has to be the one that's pushing the game forward.
Yeah, a lot of focus on the Pantheon, and I think the same thing is going to be true for LNG. They will also be putting a lot of focus on the Pantheon, who does unfortunately need to step up to them in order to do anything. And so if you're not landing some crazy ult into the middle of the pack, it's still going to be really difficult to engage on an LNG that seems set up for success when they want to kite back.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the better team comps you can possibly draft for playing flexible around the map. You can split push. You have that speed buff. LNG have options, but OMG clearly have them as well.
Let's see what happens in game number 2. LNG versus OMG, and OMG's last chance in the series.
We heard some gyos more than game number 1. We're getting them here.
The public is excited.
Well, how can you not be?
I
mean, this is a big game number 2.
Yeah, I cannot blame the public. I mean, I like what we're seeing, and while I don't think that it's the easiest thing to find a win with by any means, it's not what I would have prescribed for OMG. I can't lie and tell you that I'm not excited to see how this Yunara, Anivia, Pantheon, Yorick composition does. Right now, it is doing pretty well. Starry and Moham force out some summoners from 1x, and that is heal and barrier burned versus just the heal from Moham.
Yeah, Moham's got the fancy feet right now on the Lulu, dodging basically every Ezreal Karma Q coming out from both sides. This lane is pretty difficult to deal with if you are the Yunara, but Lulu helps out a ton. We've seen this pairing become really popular across the past couple of weeks, and Moham's gonna have to try to make the most of it, because Missing feels very at home in a Enchanter versus Enchanter matchup.
And if we get into a late game scenario where we lose a little bit of focus, man, this Lulu is going to be wild with Starry, who can output so much damage. Moham's got some crazy experience on the Lulu, but Missing as well, you have to imagine. Pretty comfortable with this matchup. He plays a lot of Enchanters, and Karma is just the most recent one he's decided to add.
I mean, this is his bread and butter. When you're talking about Prime Missing back on WE or JDG, you're talking about an Enchanter player, even when Enchanters aren't meta. His success so far in 2026, that 100% win rate on Enchanters so far this year has largely been dedicated to how much more meta he is right now than he has been in the past. It's been a big turnaround for him, and this is a big game for him to continue to prove that. His first Karma of 2026 in a game where he's going to need to get a lead early.
I think the Karma pick really works here. I mean, Karma as real tale as old as time for those that are bot lane enjoyers. And it ends up working out to the tune of a nice push. This first tower plate not going to go down just yet, but it is set up for the bot lane of LNG to grab once they return to lane and get another push. Our junglers are just finishing up their first clears and actually starting to look for the scuttles. I do wonder if Juhan wants to fight Croco. He does not.
Yeah, certainly would be a bit of a scary fight with the way things are going on the top side and in mid lane right now. You're going to be able to jump out of that cage from Hery. Snar is just so hard to punish in the early game. You're picking this Yorick so that he can have some pressure in the later parts. I'm not the biggest fan of Yorick in this meta, but this is a game where he can definitely have a big impact. Ryze is going to be a little bit difficult to deal with in a side lane, but Yorick kind of cancels out that problem. We were talking about Hery a little bit in the pregame here for game number 2. He's got a lot of opportunity to prove us either right or wrong in this one.
And if your top laner loves to overextend, Yorick's not a bad option for letting you push up and get some immense value in the mid and late game. Sheer is just sustaining for now. I think both top laners looking for their recalls and teleports back to lane as Starry does get locked up for a second, but is able to, with the Lulu, trade back a whole lot of damage. You do not see OMG giving up pressure for free in this lane. They really want to keep the wave shoved out and get some of their first damage on the tower.
Yeah, it's really nicely done from OMG. The more you kind of delay things from LNG, the better. XN shifting forward. Moham's in trouble.
Come through right now. Missing's going to flash forward as well. Gets the response flash out of Moham. Would have been surprised to see him go down with the flash up. Still has heal available as well, but expending just the one summoner, not terrible. Haichao is out of mana in the mid lane, so we'll see some recalls coming in from both of these laners soon.
I mean, that's ice in the veins to hold on to heal there if you're Moham. I mean, you couldn't have been more than 50 HP, so, you know, I guess worth overall. Even with the flash burned, you burn it on missing as well, so the karma is kind of out of those aggressive plays, but definitely something that OMG wanted to try to avoid. They were the ones that were capitalizing on the overextensions in the bot lane 2v2 last game. Unfortunately, they are the ones kind of being subjected to that right now. About a 600 gold lead already for LNG. So much of that is going to be on the bottom side, but mid lane as well, BuLLDog, as you stated, doing a pretty good job. Dragon has spawned. I'm not quite sure we're going to be getting there too early for these junglers, but we can definitely see Croco already in the area.
Yeah, neither of these compositions really seem like the let's set up early and take Dragon, but this can't hurt. Remember, Moham has no flash, so his set up early and take support seems a lot more doable. First blood is going to go to Croco as LNG execute on what was a clear overextension out of Moham.
He had no teammates in the area, and he was pushing up, attempting to contest an Ezreal Karma 2v1. A very needlessly aggressive play from Moham that gets punished well by LNG, and these are the kinds of mistakes that are going to put OMG in a worse spot as we go throughout the rest of this series. This is already a decently big gold lead for LNG, and they now have priority on the bot side over this Dragon.
Yeah. Croco gonna very quickly move up to the top side as well, preparing for the grubs that are spawning in just about 2 minutes and clearing out his camps. Doesn't want to get punished. 1XN does get engaged on by Starry, who immediately flashes out, but will still get locked down by missing. Does look like Starry's falling, and an ethereal shift forward will end up claiming him. Moham low once again, still flashless, heal-less, and ADC-less.
I mean, it just goes from bad to worse. This is the antithesis of what we saw in game number 1. It's LNG's bot lane just punishing OMG over and over again for their overstep. Starry stays in lane. He's half health against an Ezreal Karma. There's no respect being given, and I think a lot of that comes from their experiences in game 1, but this is a huge gold lead right now. 1XN 20 CS up, has a kill. Everything is going in favor of the LNG bot lane.
Unfortunately, this does just delay you into the late game, something that already seems difficult to get to as OMG. You are going to be focused on being able to clear waves, specifically using this Anivia, hopefully getting Starry some access to gold as well. It's not like the mid game is over just yet, but it is certainly that much more difficult to execute with an Ezreal that is taking every step towards being able to complete some big power spikes real early on. A reminder that we still have Mountain Dragon available and Void Grubs coming up really soon. Croco, clearly going to go for one of these two objectives in the next, I'm going to call it 3 minutes.
And honestly, they might just be able to go for both. We'll see how the trades end up going down. He is on the bottom side, whereas Juhan is clearing up onto the top side at the moment. But with the kind of pressure that they have on both sides of the map, the Gnar also generating some tempo on the top side, wouldn't be out of the question for them to play incredibly greedy here. We've seen this team try and make these plays happen before. It's going to get some vision onto the grubs, understand that this is not getting taken right now, but Dragon will be the priority for LNG with that bot lane pressure.
Rightly so. Missing once again, just keeping the bot lane from OMG, not just honest, but in a significant amount of pain as Croco shows up to secure vision in this brush. Even knowing that Croco is bot side now, fully on vision for OMG, there's not much they can do about this Dragon. And they're going to have to leave that to fall, as well as the next turret plates that I'm sure 1XN will be collecting in the next few minutes. Juhan is showing up, a late contest, technically possible, if not advisable.
Oh, he's looking for the engage. He wants to fight this.
He's got smite. He might just try and, you know, send it. But he don't send it.
Yeah, it's real hard to send it when the Ezreal's just taking your entire AD carry's health bar away. Definitely a difficult situation. Ezreal getting closer and closer to that first item. Should be quite bad, but OMG looking to capitalize on the stragglers.
No, Missing's got first roam here. Moham's showing up as well, but Juhan has to flash away from Croco, who's already thrown down the subjugate, immediately locked up as well. Juhan has absolutely no way out, while Croco goes to just below half HP. It is Moham, who just got his flashback and doesn't get to use it. Grabbing a double kill for BuLLDog and maybe making it a little bit more. 1xN solo kills Starry under the tower, and LNG. It is all coming up for them in the early game.
Well, if we were excited about OMG getting a small lead in game number 1, that unfortunately was not going to be translated to game number 2. Juhan ends up putting everything on the line to steal away the Scuttle Crab and ends up paying the ultimate price for it as we get a replay here. He just feels like he can play more aggro, but look at the bot lane situation. Missing is by far going to be first to this roam over Moham. And not just because he's a Karma, but because of the positioning as well. BuLLDog is able to make the roam down. He has to flash over the wall, but everyone's aggressive enough to be able to follow him as well. Juhan has no health bar to be able to survive here, and once again, Moham as a Lulu is just going to go down. That's 2 free kills over to the Rise now, so not only is 1xN accelerated, but BuLLDog, who is already winning lane, is in an even better spot, and the game just goes from bad to worse with a 3k gold lead at 10 minutes.
Yeah, but BuLLDog is going to have a pretty easy game ahead of him as well, with a nice injection of income onto the Rise. Clearing these waves up against an Anivia just got that much easier, and that sort of mid lane presence is just going to make Croco's job easier as well. Void Grub's the next on the table. You called this out earlier, Kman. They were likely to get both objectives, and with the way the game is going, OMG will be lucky to get an objective.
Certainly would be something that they need to claw their way back on. This game is far from over, though. There are plenty of ways for them to get back. Juhan still has that ultimate available, something that we need to watch out for on the Pantheon. That Starfall crashing down onto a lane can be really impactful if somebody overextends, and with LNG's aggressiveness, they could be the exact kind of team to fall into a bit of a trap. It's really important that you get gold on priority targets here, whether that be Yorick, Anivia, or the Yunara is all really up to where they want to put that pressure.
1xN actually pretty darn scary with these Mystic shots. He's been landing more than not. And Starry and Moham both going to back away, knowing that Missing is looking for these engages constantly. The focused resolve has been so huge for locking down individuals for LNG to pick off. Starry actually goes for the ult. Juhan is going to ult down into the bot side as well. Missing low and Missing gone. First Grand Starfall works out well, but you don't want to overstay, and Croco's shown up.
Ooh, they really wanted this. Croco has to run away here. Really nice play. We were talking about it. You need to use that Grand Starfall to your advantage, and that's exactly what Juhan does. It's really well timed down on the bot side. Exactly what we were talking about. 1xN and Missing overextend. They feel aggressive, and that's what Juhan can punish. That's how you get yourself back into this game, getting a couple of picks and getting gold onto the right targets. As long as you can make sure that Starry, Haichao, and Hery are in a spot where they can at the very least play in the late game, things definitely get easier for OMG despite this bad early game.
Yeah, it's a big success story for Juhan, if it is just a small step at the same time in being able to make these punishing, proactive plays is what the draft necessitates and what OMG's position in the season desperately needs right now. Starry performing pretty well at the same time. He's been under a lot of pressure in this lane. 1xN and Missing both have really been focused on punishing the Yunara as often as possible, and yet Starry still feels comfortable to step up, whip out an ult, and start a fight with the rest of the squad, which is a very good sign for the rest of OMG. Croco engaging onto Hery. He's going to flash out of the cage. Might actually just take him down. Subjugate's already fallen. Sheer is here as well, and Hery, that classic overextension we were talking about, ends up striking once again.
And the reason that that is such a frustrating play to make is Hery is one of the few parts of the map right now that is not pretty far behind. Look at the items in the inventory for mid and AD carry right now. Moham is experiencing the Triforce completion for 1xN. BuLLDog's got his Roa done, and we're still looking at components on the other side. The one part of the map that you felt comfortable in was Yorick on the top side, and that is now getting taken advantage of. Juhan just has to spend his time as Pantheon in the early game here to cover.
We'll at least get him, I suppose, on the bright side, a little bit more experience. That's not going to be too bad, but there's some serious bad news happening on the bot side. So everything's relative, I suppose, with the first tower falling, and as Dragon spawns as well, LNG have but to reset and move back up into the mid lane to get some serious priority on an Infernal Dragon.
Getting first tower, 12 minutes, 13 minutes with really bare minimum investment on the bottom side of the map is never a good sign. But this Ezreal is massive. Like you said, 1.5k gold up right now over Starry. He's basically a half item up over Starry, which is a huge, huge problem because Ezreal's at his strongest right now. OMG are going to try to force the problem by starting Drake, but this could be so dangerous.
This is so bad by OMG. This is an extremely dangerous spot, but Croco does take a little bit of damage, and I really mean a little bit. Shears almost Mega, though, and he shows up to the fight just in time. He's going to half-health Starry before he goes Mega, completely shoving him out of the fight. Actually goes over the wall to follow up on Starry, locking the AD carry from OMG into the wall and taking him down. LNG take a big team fight win around a Dragon that was an ill-advised start from OMG.
Oh, and Haichao's not done. He's still kind of playing on the edge of danger. Do believe he still has passive available. We'll see if Croco wants to full commit to try and burst it, but this mid lane play is still going.
And that first tower in the mid lane is going to fall as a result. LNG get the team fight win, they get the Dragon, they get the mid lane tower. 3 things in favor of LNG. And, while we take a look at him, not to sheer here as well. Does get Grand Starfall done, but should be able to escape. A nice slow and a double jump. Haichao still looking for this, though. The dream is alive for OMG, and just like that, the dream is dead. So sad.
Every single time I see this team make a play, it just kind of puts them a little further in the hole. OMG want to go for this because they see the Rise on the top side pushing against the Yorick, and they feel like BuLLDog is a lot of the gold. The problem is Sheer is also huge right now in the game on the Gnar, and they just underestimate how quickly he can burst down Starry. Juhan is doing nothing on the Pantheon, picture in picture, as we see here jump back to the game. Missing, and Croco just owning the jungle. It's 16 minutes into the game. Rift Herald is on the map to be taken, but they don't want that. They want the camps instead, and they maybe want to dive on the top side.
It's good League of Legends out of LNG right now. It is just like we saw in game number 1. As soon as they have a lead, missing, this time not on the Poppy, does have a little bit of backup, but is walking into the jungle, grabbing vision, denying vision from OMG, and that means getting that much more income available for your team as well. Sheer's able to push up that much further. Same thing for BuLLDog and 1XN. Even Croco is able to walk in and get the additional camps that come with it.
Yeah, we saw in that picture-in-picture Starry, biting the dust a little bit. It wasn't even something that we were so surprised by. that 0 and 4 Yunara is just so far behind. At this point, 2.6 thousand gold down at 16 minutes into the game is tough. But a playmate on Hery. This could be another death here for OMG.
Yeah, the overextensions that we talked about earlier continue to plague Hery, and it's only going to get more difficult as the team falls further and further behind. Juhan alone in the jungle as well is going to get teamed on by 3 people, as ultimately it is 1XN that collects the kill. LNG push to tower, and they can do so in 2 lanes, both the bot side crashing and the mid lane now being pushed in by 1XN.
It sure does look like a Baron push coming in from a team at 17 minutes, but that's just the pressure and the power that LNG have on the map right now. They drop the Herald mid. This will be tier 2 going down in the mid lane. They're going to want to push for even more. You talked about it. Wave getting pushed in on the bot side. They could very easily transition some of this tempo there, but with the death timer still being so short, they elect to recall, get everything back, and kind of take their 9k lead that they have at 18 minutes into the game and try and cash in when they have the availability.
Yeah, the reset's definitely not coming in at a bad time either. It's another item completed for 1XN. Up to 2.5 right now over Starry's 1.5, so a full item ahead easily is 1XN, which, when we consider that Starry picked up the Yunara early, when we consider that Starry is the hyper carry hope for OMG, being a full item behind, c'est la vie. C'est la vie.
No bueno. I think that we can say it in many different ways. I can definitely say it's not good. They are looking for a play here onto BuLLDog. Juhan's last ult went very awry, not being able to lock down any priority target. But once again, it's the bot lane under threat.
Starry, flashless, by the way. Has to walk this one out, and actually will get you by expending the ult. Will he survive? Moham takes a lot of damage. Moham is going to go down simultaneously. That is a double kill picked up by 1xN and Croco. There it is, the actual double for 1xN, as Croco won't even fall. We egg him! Triple kill for 1xN.
It's just disrespectful at this point, Dia. They're winning everywhere on the map. Missing's like, yeah, you know, we don't really care that the Lulu's in the way. We'll just kill you both with the Karma Ezreal damage coming through. Croco has no fear on the Trundle. It's just a disaster right now. BuLLDog is split pushing down on the bottom side. They're going to get this bot tier 2. Baron has not even spawned. Dragon is up in 15 seconds. It will be soul point, but do LNG even need it at this point?
You know what? I would say no. But are they going to take it, and are they going to make this even more ridiculous? Everyone would say yes. Take another look at how Starry got caught out.
Yeah, I mean, he gets hit by one Ezreal Q, and then they're like, yeah, we can kill him from this point onwards. He gets super low. Unfortunately, the ultimate does not land from the Ezreal, but it ends up working out, because Moham actually sits there and tanks a bunch of damage to try and make things a little bit more even, and he just dies in the process. Croco taking multiple tower shots under Inhibitor Tower, and it just does not matter. Haichao flashing forward to try and get something, but for the first time in this game, the egg is popped, and the egg is taken down. Croco surviving is really just icing on the cake for a play that was so dominant. Good found 1xN, though.
Man, 1xN actually getting jumped on. Might die here. Hery's going for it. The flash out of 1xN saves his life, leaving Hery in no man's land. The rest of OMG has shown up. We've already expended the wild growth on Juhan. Starry goes forward, actually collecting the kill and the shutdown. That is big for Starry, and while Hery manages to stay alive, it is 1-0 in the favor of OMG, but Croco's on the way, and Croco takes this personal. Juhan goes on the engage, but now Croco's in your backline. BuLLDog comes over the wall, and LNG wipe OMG off the face of the planet.
What did it cost to take down 1xN? It cost everything here for OMG as they get completely wiped. The only surviving member is Moham on the Lulu. That is Baron going over to the side of LNG, and it's even more gold going into the pocket of BuLLDog. 1xN overextending and getting punished, but it just doesn't matter. The wallet diff is too much. It is going to be a 13,000 gold lead for LNG, and it really looks like it's going to be in the bag right now as we get the replay here. 1xN is just so far forward. I mean, he is proxying basically this wave into a Pantheon Yorick. He does get punished for this, as he should, as the Ezreal player, but he lives for so long and he outputs so much damage. Look at the poke coming in from the Qs throughout this fight. Hery gets completely chunked out. Juhan gets hit by one more Q. It takes so long for them to kill off 1xN. By this point, their health bars are all half health, and the moment that the gallivanting Trundle ends up coming in from the backline, BuLLDog feels comfortable, even with the stun coming through, to blow up the backline and the front line for OMG. Try as you might, this gold lead is just too big, and they continue to prevail.
What I would give to hear the comms as Croco came around the corner, because that went from being a "I'll maybe" fight to an "oh no" fight. And this is another "oh no" fight. Wild growth expended to keep Starry alive as Sheer is about to go mega. OMG keep their carry alive, but aren't going to get too much more than that as a consolation prize. Starry gonna head back and heal up as the last fight, if there is even going to be one, is incoming. Croco wants to pick off Haichao. Actually, credit to him, manages to deal a decent amount of damage on the Anivia, but it is not nearly enough into the shielding from missing. The wallet diff, as you mentioned, is really being felt in the little to no impact that Haichao is able to have on the team fight right now. Gets chunked to half health.
Yeah, this is a tough situation for OMG. They're getting based down. Do they have the fortitude to survive?
1xN goes for it. Oh my god, he assassinates Starry! 1xN, a very, very worthwhile fight as BuLLDog comes in to help peel for him. 1xN picks up a double kill as OMG are relegated to their fountain, and even so, LNG try to take them out. A big win for LNG in 2-0 fashion against OMG.
By my count, that was a 23-minute game, and that is not a good look for OMG. LNG continue their dominance over Group Nirvana. They move to 4-0. this locks them, I believe, for top 2. If not locked, it is as, clear cut as you can possibly get. This is the best team in the entire group, and their sights are not on just making playoffs. Their sights are on top 8. They are on Group Ascent.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this series, the question was for OMG, can you break one of the strongest teams and keep your hopes of top 2 alive? We found that out. The answer is unfortunately no. But for LNG, the question was how bulletproof they could stay. How much further than this group could they continue to extend themselves? And I'll be honest with you, even in this game, even in this series, Kman, I don't think we saw serious holes in LNG's armor.
I mean, the cracks were what? 1xN getting solo killed on the bot side, a poor trade decision on the 2v2. They easily won a second dragon fight down 1,000 gold in game number 1, and they decimated a good winning matchup in game number 2. There's almost nothing else that you could want to see. They have done everything they need to do in Group Nirvana. Everything from this point onwards is making sure they're as comfortable as possible heading into bigger games. Yeah,
this was a fantastic game out of LNG, and I really liked the way that they navigated the whole bot side Ezreal Karma as well, because that success story was basically in a vacuum for LNG. We didn't see Croco showing up down there very often in the early stages of the game. Well, we did talk about the junglers positioning, maybe enhancing the confidence with which LNG and OMG could play respectively. Realistically, we didn't see a whole lot of visits paid to the bot side for 1xN and Missing to convert this into lane kingdom, which they were also nearly doing in game number 1. This bot lane seems to be successful almost on an island.
It's insane just how much better these two are playing in a better environment. Missing got benched midway through last year for a JDG team that was desperate to find any sort of support that could come in and play. 1xN was stuck on a Thunder Talk team that, while they were competitive, it was mostly because of him, and they could never really find their groove. Both of them coming together, kind of getting better situations around them in 2026. They are playing some of the best League we have seen them play. They're very in meta right now. They fit together, and obviously they play off of players like Croco incredibly well. LNG is scary. It's not just this buffer of Group Nirvana. They genuinely are a team you have to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, even Sheer in this last game had demonstrated the same laser focus that we saw out of Croco. For OMG, we raised some questions about Juhan at the start of this game, saying, hey, this is really where the team needs to focus up. I think we're coming out of this series saying that's still largely true, especially with the Pantheon pickup in game number 2. There has never been more pressure on Juhan than when you're picking a champion like that to make things happen in the early game with the Grand Starfalls. We saw it once and we never saw it again.
I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. He had one good Pantheon ultimate. He was able to catch out an overextended 1xN and Missing, who really felt like they were on Cloud 9 for a bit there, kind of moving forward. But after that, I mean, the second one, I believe, was dropped in the bot lane, and it was on a Gnar that was running away and just was clearly out of it. The third one was not able to find a kill either. It just felt like a very poor game from Pantheon, and we can even really see that in the damage numbers. He just barely is out-damaging the Trundle, but, almost doing as much damage as Missing on the other side of that matchup.
Yeah, the 1xN, we did talk about this last game with Starry as well. On a poke champion, yes, most damage does kind of come with the territory, but 1xN was not simply poking. He was assassinating at several points in this series and in these games. More than that, I think we could really see how comfortable 1xN felt calling for things to happen. You talked about the single shot landing onto Starry, and then suddenly everyone is collapsing on Starry for these kills. We are arcane shifting forward, we are getting aggressive, and that only comes when your ADC feels comfortable calling the shots.
Absolutely. Dia, you talk about Ezreal like an assassin. I don't see any difference between Game 1 Croco's Xin Zhao and Game 2 1xN's Ezreal. I mean, both were diving on top of everybody, just picking up kills left and right. It really just was one of those series that makes you believe in this LNG team that has a lot of upside. And if 1xN's really going to start reaching that, I mean, we're looking at an 80 carry pool in the LPL that can sometimes be kind of up for debate at the top end level. 1xN has all the talent necessary to be a top 4 or top 5 80 carry right now in the LPL if he can put it together and play like he did today.
I would not mind seeing it one bit. This bot lane certainly does look really successful. Question for you, though. Are they player of the game successful? I don't hate player of the game for 1xN.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards 1xn. I think it was maybe the solo kill that sold me in the bot lane that was like, oh, okay, you know, I don't think we're going to be doing much better than this. He was the star in that game. He had, what, a 4,000 gold lead at 15 minutes into the game on the Ezreal. He's a full item up onto Starry. It's really just one of those games that shows you how powerful that role can be if played correctly.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive stuff out of him. BuLLDog as well, played really well. We did give love to Sheer for his performance. Croco did fade into the background a little bit more on the Trundle, that I don't think is a bad thing. Trundle never really became supremely relevant in this series just via who he is as a champion. He didn't have to do much.
It's a pretty easy game when you get to look mid and he's got a 1k gold lead, and you get to look bot and he's got a 2k gold lead, and top lane's doing just fine. It's a Gnar. You can find engages there on your own. You know, you're not worrying too much when you got 3 winning lanes as a jungler. Croco obviously did so much in game number 1, and he still found some fantastic plays in game number 2. Trundle finding his way back into the fight where 1xn overextended on the top side tier 2 tower. That was really massive for LNG, making sure they're not giving free tempo back, but it really needed to be, you know, more pressure into that jungle from Juhan, from the rest of the team, and they just couldn't really find it here.
Yeah, and it was difficult as well. I mean, we did see in 2 separate games an attempted draft that gave Haichao mid-wave clear that should let him, in theory, support the jungler. I don't think we really saw that come into effect, even with the global presence that we saw out of Taliyah in game number 1, and with the theoretical wave clear that you have on Anivia in game number 2, neither of these mid lane picks felt particularly impactful from OMG, so maybe it's time to start looking at a different strategy?
Well, that's the problem, right? Is I think you had great matchups in both games. I think Taliyah into Azir should be something that you're able to push on and move around the map. Anivia is kind of a notorious counter pick for Ryze. It's something that Ryze really struggles in. We've seen that multiple times throughout the LPL split. And yet somehow, some way, BuLLDog was up 20 CS, pushing in wave every single time. Really did just feel like an execution difference. If Haichao is not going to be able to survive in these laning phases, then maybe you need to go to something that's a little bit more selfish and a little bit more passive. We didn't really see any control mages out of him in this series. Perhaps that's, you know, maybe the direction moving forward.
I really would have liked to see an Orianna as well. I know that we saw that banned in both of these games, but Orianna does feel like something that would fit the bill for exactly how Haichao wants to play, and it's tough that it is in such a bannable position right now because of the team fight enablement that it would give, the additional protection to Starry that I actually did really like about the Anivia pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that you're in a spot where you can make your jungler's life a little bit easier, because it's clearly a lot more difficult for Juhan right now than it's been at other points in his career. And Haichao, for all the flack that we can give him, has had moments where he has looked like somebody that can generate his own leads at this level. It's all really just about getting back there. Again, even the flashes this year, they've kind of been there. We saw it in the LGD series. We saw it in Demacia Cup. It's just not really been translatable. And if mid-jungle are both really behind in tempo, it's, especially in this meta, very hard to win games.
Yeah, that plagued OMG in this game. For LNG, like you say, this seems like a team that will be moving on out of Group Nirvana. That is where their eyes are set right now. Unfortunately enough, that is where we are going as well. Group Perseverance is going to be coming up next with NIP. That's going to be a very interesting game to follow as NIP take on EDG, and I would expect to be a little bit closer than the series that we just saw.
Definitely. I think EDG are starting to get back into form, and NIP have looked pretty good, especially against expectation all split long. Cannot wait for this series.
Yeah, this one should be coming up pretty darn shortly. I'm not sure if we're going to get player of the game, to be honest, because right now we are in the midst of interviews and life over on the LPL, but once we do, I am expecting this to be a 1xn one and done, especially given what we just saw in this last game. The extension from Juhan into the river in the middle of this was ill-advised, and we knew it coming in.
I mean, it's the decision-making, right? It's just the overconfidence or the lack of care. It's something we've seen so consistently out of Juhan, where you just got to understand when to give up on the map. And he had to understand that Missing was always going to be able to make that roam first. He was always going to be able to make it more efficiently. And Starry's just dead under the tower. Technically not a solo kill because of the Karma Shield. I understand. But all the damage came from the Ezreal. So I'm going to count that as an unofficial solo kill. And it just kind of really spiraled out of control from there. OMG really weren't in that bad of a spot before that fight. But then eventually you start forcing this second Baron because you feel like BuLLDog's on the top side and so much of the gold is on the rise. Little do they know Sheer is just as strong, and really no fight after that went OMG's way.
No, I liked the Yorick pick in theory for Hery, even as weird as it may have been with this composition, but we never really got to see the dream happen where Hery is able to split push to infinity and beyond because the map was falling apart around them. I wouldn't mind seeing OMG actually pick up the Yorick again in a future game and try this out, but the overextension issue has to be solved. If you are behind on a split pushing champion, at a professional level, you can't just continue to split push regardless.
Yeah, eventually you stop finding ways to play the game. If you're Yorick and you're super far down in gold, you can't really team fight, you can't really play side lanes because you're going to get caught out. It just becomes very, very difficult, and that's why I think these Feast or Famine picks are just not something I would personally be going for a team like OMG right now. You know, we're going to talk about a team like NIP a little bit later, but a lot of teams have found success throughout this year, simplifying the process and just making these engages a lot easier. I understand things like Malphite and Jarvan were off the table in this series, but those were second rotation bans. These were things you definitely could have prioritized, and I just think a lot of these drafts are too difficult to execute on. Things like Pantheon and Nivea, like these are picks that I think good teams can make use of, but OMG doesn't feel like they have that inbuilt synergy right now to make the most of it.
Yeah, and Juhan, you can see, does want actively to be starting fights that feel really impactful, but on the Pantheon, you do need a whole lot more support from the rest of the team in order to make a stun turn into a functional pick. Amazing shot. Amazing shot out of 1xN.
This guy just doesn't miss, man. He doesn't miss at all, dude. This guy is truly, like, on fire right now. He's had an unbelievable start to the year. He was great in Demacia Cup, too. That's carried all the way through to this split. This bot lane genuinely looks scary, and I don't want to overreact or talk about Group Nirvana too much, but when you watch a lot of these LPL teams, I mean, this might be one of the better bot lanes in the entire league right now.
And that is something that we can continue tracking through the day, right? We've just seen how 1xN was able to run the bot side, and it is to the tune of, surprisingly, him not getting player of the game. I'm going to be honest, I think we fumbled this one.
Yeah, this is, to me, a little bit of a whiff. I think the bot lane was just unbelievable. Croco, I think, has now gotten almost every MVP for LNG across this split. I know Missing got quite a few in their previous series, but, you know, I do like Croco. Maybe would have gone with the Ezreal, maybe even Missing in this game on the Karma, who I think also played really well. BuLLDog, I think, had a great game. I think that's the problem when LNG wins so hard, is everybody kind of deserves player of the game.
That is very true. Missing's Karma was really fantastic in the lane phase, though, and you could see it creating a lot of advantages. We talked about his Enchanter win rate, which continues at 100%. Fantastic news for Missing. And for LNG, a fantastic game, a great series, and now onwards and upwards, because they seem to be well on their way to moving on out of their group, and so are we, moving on to Ninjas in Pajamas versus EDG after a short break.